This podcast is brought to you by the Texas Hill Country River region in Uvalde County. What's super unique about this area is that the Frio, Nueces, and Sabinal rivers are all located in the same county. It's like the hill country that you know and love, but really rural, so you're surrounded by wildlife. And life just kind of slows down out here, so you can enjoy the simple pleasures like campfires and fishing and just enjoying the company of the people that you love.
Go to visituvalde.com for more info. Buenos dias, everyone. Welcome back to the In Between podcast. I'm Jake.
And I'm Leah.
And today we have a very special guest. It's Noah.
Hello.
Yeah, so I am so excited to have Noah here. I have been wanting her on the podcast forever. I've been wanting her at our place forever. So we're just excited you're here. I met Noah. She has an acupuncture clinic in Utopia. And I really wanted to get some acupuncture in my life. And she has changed my life on so many levels, helped me through my pregnancy, helped me realize that dairy was like making me mess up. Like she has literally changed my life, taken away my pain.
Yeah, back pain, neck
pain, all the things.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. So Noah is all about full holistic health and wellness and just having a happy, healthy life. And her and her husband have multiple businesses and are just like superheroes in my eyes. And yeah, I'm just so happy you're here.
We're glad to have you on. And we actually had Travis on yesterday.
Yeah.
And he may be joining us today.
Maybe.
So.
He has the kids. So you might hear right now we have their two girls and Luna, our baby, all in here. So you're going to hear them in the background. You might see them. I don't know. But parenting, filming, running businesses, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us how you got started with the acupuncture business? How did that come about?
Well, growing up, I was really sick. It's a very long story, so I'll save it for another time. But I was really sick and it was a lot of mystery issues. And I ended up being misdiagnosed many times and then put on the wrong medications many times and ended up having some medical injuries from the wrong medications. And I spent a long time, like 23 years, 24 years, like not really being heard by doctors. And I know that is a really common story, but it feels weird to be a cliche, but it just happened. And so I was a musician thinking I was going to play music all my life. Wow. And working with adults with disabilities, like as a caretaker. And I ended up homebound for a month when I was 24. So somebody was like, you need acupuncture. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but I don't care. Like, do whatever to me. And it was interesting because the acupuncture and herbal medicine was the thing that like would stop my episodes in the middle of them of extreme pain and digestive distress and was like starting to work on the anxiety I had from being sick for so long. Because I also had like anxiety, almost an anxiety disorder that came up because of how much pain I was in and how much my pain was interrupting my life. So I've always loved people. And I've always been very curious and sort of an academic and loved to read and blah, blah, blah. So at that point, my music was going nowhere. I was really sick and acupuncture and herbs were working. And I was fascinated. Like, how does this work when all of this Western pharmaceutical medication for my whole life has been just a horrible experience for me and it should be working? Right? I've seen like every doctor under the sun. So I was just curious and extremely at the like end of my rope and didn't really have a lot of options for my career. And so I was like, I'm going to go to med school for this. So I joined the medical school in like 2 months after that and just kept my head down for the next 4 years, studying traditional Chinese medicine and everything that encompasses. So it's not just acupuncture, it's we learn over 900 individual herbs and how they interact with one another, how they interact with medications, how they treat internal disease, external disease, pain, So we learn every disease, disorder, gene mutation, all of it. But when it comes time to treatment, we treat with our tools, which is herbal medicine and acupuncture, Tui Na, Gua Sha, several other types of Chinese techniques. But I ended up doing really well, becoming like excellent at it. Had 3 business plans written by the time I graduated. I got my temporary license in the mail from the Texas Medical Board, and then I opened like the next week, and I had a place, and I started on a little farm for 3 months, and you could not tell that I was even in there. There was like horses outside the door, and it scared a lot of my patients, including myself. And then I finally found a place in Buda, Texas, on Main Street in the Curating house. And it was like 400 square feet, 1 room. And I split it down the middle with a curtain. And I started with a specialty in women's health because I really wanted to help women investigate their physiological experience before we diagnose them with mental disorders or anxiety disorders. A lot of people are on medication for these things, and some of them might not necessarily need to be. They might have some serious like gut issues going on, or physiological disorders or autoimmune disease that hasn't been diagnosed yet. And so when we suspect that, we refer them out to the right MDs as well. We also have 4 medical partners that work with my clinic now. But at the time, I just was like hitting the ground running and praying every morning, like pacing the office at like 5 and 6 a.m. I'd wear sunglasses because the sun was so bright when it would come up in that room. Like just pray that people would come. And that like within 8 weeks, I was seeing 25 people a week, and it was just awesome. So we expanded the next year, and then the following year we expanded again. And so now we have 4 practitioners, an IV therapy center with sunrise hydration. And then we have 4 other medical partners, a sauna, a spa in there in Buda. And then we opened a satellite clinic in Utopia to see patients here. And then we have a 3rd installation at the Luminary Birthing Center and Birthing and Wellness Center. So through all of that.
In San Marcos.
Yeah, that's in San Marcos. Yeah. So in 2017, Abigail, my first hire, came on in 2016. We opened our our herbal company called Zoe Medicinals. But what we really focus on is whole health and whole wellness. So we integrate East and West. So we use modern diagnostics and the modern pharmacology of plants, or what we know in modern times about the pharmacology of plants. For example, if somebody's blood work comes back and their liver enzymes are high, or a doctor sent them to me because their liver enzymes are high, or they have an issue with chloride in the stomach or breaking down their food or whatever, we know exactly what herbs we're going to use that have incredible success in bringing those back into normal ranges. But we're also going to tailor the formula to the patient's presentation. So it's everything, the traditional Chinese medical diagnostic with the labs in mind, and then we design customized medicine. So I really specialize in the customization of herbal medicine for patients, and then obviously give them acupuncture. But not all of my patients get acupuncture, although I think it improves their outcomes drastically.
No.
So,
and that's what you did.
Yeah.
Right?
So I went to NOAA for just acupuncture because I was like, this will be great for like stress. And then I ended up doing the full like wellness program. And so when I came in, I presented with back pain, like horrible, painful periods and crazy stress. And now I just had a baby, so periods aren't the issue. But prior to that, like I wasn't having the crazy cramping anymore. I wasn't having the back pain anymore. My stress levels were way down. And, I attribute all of that to what you did for me. One crazy thing that I swear by is we were trying to get pregnant for almost a year. Nothing was happening. And you were like, well, I specialize in women's health and like helping women get pregnant. And I don't know what you did. You poked my ovaries with a bunch of needles. I don't know. Right after that, I was pregnant, and now we have a little Luna. So I tell everybody, like, go to NOAA. She'll get you pregnant. I don't know how. That's what I tell people.
Oh man, I've heard that a couple of times. Somebody was like, you put the needle in and you got the baby in, and you put a needle in and the baby comes out. And I was like, that is not how it works.
That's how it sounds to me.
I didn't get you pregnant. But we also like help people with induction too, or like to get labor going. And so people sometimes are like, wow, we got pregnant and we got the baby out. And I'm like, it's really the greatest joy. I get so excited working with moms to be, and then in pregnancy, and then that last week before the baby's born, like I have chills while I'm working with them, and I just feel the joy of like a new life coming into the world. And it's such an honor, you know. And even when things are really hard and things don't go the way moms want them to, it's like the greatest privilege to like walk through all of that with them. So I do so much work in like autoimmune disease and outside of pregnancy and like women's health, but those are like the most special. No. And I didn't know that about you. I forgot.
Oh, about getting me pregnant?
Yeah, I didn't know I got you pregnant.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Did you put me on the birth certificate?
Yes, definitely.
I do remember you came in like on after you did your fit test, your food inflammation test, and you were feeling so much better. It was like session 8 or 9 with you, and I was like, what do you want to focus on today? And you were like, I don't know, nothing.
Yeah.
I feel great. And I was like, okay. Yeah. Well, let's do a balance treatment or something. But I was like shocked because you do the work. I mean, you're the one who changed the way you eat, and like you're the one that drives 30 minutes to get acupuncture. Yeah. An hour round trip.
Well, it's crazy. I never understood really until I started seeing you, like how much what I eat, what I consume, how it affects my body. Like I can listen to my body now in a way that I couldn't before. I didn't know what my body was trying to tell me. I just thought, oh, I'm 30, so I have aches and pains now. This is just what happens when you turn 30 and 40 and 50 and 60. This is just life. And all that pain, just because I cut out dairy, because we realized I had a sensitivity to it, that pain is gone. And when I cheat and I have dairy, lo and behold, I'm going to have a little bit of back pain or neck pain, but I can hear my body now. I can hear what she's saying to me.
Oh my gosh.
And I learned that from you because I didn't know how to do that before.
It's one of the most valuable tools. My goal for our patients is that after they've done wellness programs, they could like move to Italy tomorrow with confidence, like traverse a whole new country, figure out how to establish a life there. But the fear around their body and how their body responds to their environment and how to take care of their body is not a factor because they're not afraid anymore, and they have the tools that they need to like figure it out and understand like what's triggering them versus, do I need to go to an urgent care? Is something really bad happening? And then, oh yeah, I had like 3 huge slices of pizza last night and I know I don't do well with that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, Leah, can you mind shedding what how the process was like for you and your journey, like through like starting to go to do acupuncture, and then what did you have to do to get that the program? Because I know it wasn't just like go to Zoe Acupuncture and then she gave you everything you needed. There was other steps involved.
Yeah. So we did the fit test. So the food sensitivity, and then my blood panels. Like you took like half a gallon of blood from me when I went to the blood people.
The LabCorp.
LabCorp. They were like, man, your doctor means business. As she was like drawing vial after vial. I was like, yeah, we're just testing everything. And so, y'all tested for every kind of deficiency or what I had too much of, what I had too little of, everything. So we did that. Yes. Food sensitivities plus like the vitamin deficiencies. And then you put together this entire packet for me of this is, everything that your body is telling you. These are all the things you need more of. These are all the things you need less of. And and then I kind of followed that or stuck to it most days. And that's it. That was kind of the process. Yeah.
That's it. It's pretty simple. You do have to do a few things, but it's still your practice is still very much like you said earlier. It's based on Chinese medicine, but you're also incorporating the scientific Western medicine part of it as a guide. I feel like So, yeah.
I just have to take a side note. Her husband, Travis, just walked out of the door with both babies in arm. Cutest thing ever. I saw him earlier walking up the hill with both of them in arm, like working on his muscles.
Speaking of food sensitivities, last night, Sterling, like she's being really picky with food and wouldn't eat any of the dinner with us. Mm-hmm. And then when we got down to your cabin, he just let her have this like yogurt pouch that we normally don't give to her. We are typically doing non-dairy yogurts for her in the morning, like a coconut based or something with some fats and proteins and berries and whatnot. And she'll eat what she wants from it. But he gave her a packet last night and she lost it in the middle of the night. He was like, said he was like praying the demons out. Like he was like, what's happening? And I heard her screaming bloody murder, but I was breastfeeding at like 3 a.m. So I couldn't get up because Simone was like really hungry for some reason. So she's eating for like 15 minutes. So I can't get up and go help. They finally fall asleep. So I never get up. Well, this morning she takes another packet and drinks that down. And then now, like she's not like this during the day ever. She'll have a meltdown at night if she's overtired, but she's been doing that all morning, like crying and crying and crying. So like, what I like to do as well, what I've learned in my own life from what we've learned how to listen to our bodies, like I'm watching our girls and I'm like, okay, like this is not bad behavior necessarily. Like how many times has she done this after she had that type of food? So I went through all the pouches in the trash this morning because I was like, these are never coming out again. And I don't want her to find them. And so she's having an extra hard time, which is why I was like, you're staying with the girls and I'm doing this by myself.
That's so, I wonder if that's kind of the issue for a lot of families with their kids when they, you know, their kids start fussing the same way. Is it, maybe it's something that they're eating that's triggering it.
They have no idea. They have no clue. You know, when we started off breastfeeding Luna in the beginning, it was just fussy, screamy. And everyone in my life was like, oh, colic. She's going to have colic. It's going to be colic. And my lactation consultant was like, I really think it could be dairy. And I was like, well, I have a dairy sensitivity and I've been eating dairy because during the pregnancy, I realized I could eat dairy with no consequences. Yeah. And so as soon as I had her, that changed. And I realized I started having my back pain again. But I was still kind of cheating a little bit because I had cheated for 9 months with the dairy. And I cut out the dairy and she stopped with the fussiness. And I just, you know, my mom tried to breastfeed me and it didn't work out because I had colic. But what if it was the dairy she was consuming? And nobody was telling her that.
And
she
often
had no
we're
way of
medicating
knowing.
these children. Yeah. We're medicating them even at the age, like newborns for digestive disorders instead of eliminating foods. And I think this is a point of contention for a lot of people, and it's an emotional thing because food is so part of our comfort. Yeah. Like how to comfort ourselves. So I have a lot of compassion for that. And I try to help people learn how to cheat as often as I can because I know that we're all living and like we want to live a healthy life, but a fun life, right? However, the amount of agricultural chemicals and toxins in our food supply and just the way that things are produced is why we can't eat it the way we could 100, 200 years ago. Yeah. So, I mean, the sad part is that I don't believe it can be absolutely necessary sometimes. And there's no judgment towards any parent. Parenting is a heavy weight and it is a sacred thing. And so when I talk about healthy ways of raising children, it doesn't come from a place of judgment. Yeah. But it can be like, we need to weigh the pros and cons because it can be a little bit harmful to be medicating children so early, especially if it's not the right application of medication. If it's a food sensitivity, and it's not always beneficial for the children if you're punishing them for behavioral issues when their behavior is coming from the foods that they're eating. And I treat a lot of children who are diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, or behavioral issues. And anecdotally, and like for 8 years, we have seen incredible improvements, not full healings all the time or, you know, full recoveries, but sometimes when they address what's happening to their bodies, their physiological body, with their rest at night and the foods they're consuming. And that's a really controversial point too, but I know what I've seen and our patients know what they've seen. And it's been incredible for some of these families to get some freedom and some peace when they eliminate things that are really causing a disruption from, food choices. So.
Well, even at like the youngest level, like right now with Luna and maybe even Sterling, like those things that they ate made their little tummies hurt. And so then the crying, which can be seen as behavioral, is just their tummies are hurting. They're in pain. Like last night, I had some cheese on my tacos and Luna was up. She woke up, I think three times instead of one time. And every couple of hours. She doesn't do that anymore. And she did last night. Well, I cheated.
I know. I saw you do
I know. And
I tried to give her a skate girl. I was like, look, I will eat those. You heard me. I said, I'll go order. I'll go get you another order. She's like, no, it's fine.
I said, it's fine. It's fine. It was not fine.
You are breastfeeding and starving. So she's like, don't touch my tacos. And I was like, don't touch her tacos because I'm breastfeeding too. And I know how that feels. And now it's like, we're up all night with our kids. For my kids, don't have a dairy sensitivity like that. Thank God. But I don't know, maybe because like she's really been freaking out. But there's also, it says organic. I don't really know what else was in there that might be. But that particular pouch is not working out for us. So I don't like to throw the baby out with
I would call it the demon yogurt.
It's the demon yogurt.
Demon yogurt. Have you done food sensitivity tests on them? Can you do it that early, or is it just more so you watch them?
I don't like to do it before the age of 4. Okay. I actually do the food inflammation testing for a lot of children at the clinic in Buda. And if people are listening to this, like food sensitivity testing is also controversial, but it varies by what lab you're using. We're using KBMO labs. And so far as I know, it's the only one on the market right now that's not just testing for the IgG response, for sensitivities, but also the formation of the actual immune complex. And is it triggering complement? And so it's looking at the cascade of response that the patient has versus just the one immunoglobulin G is what they're testing for delayed food reactions. So we're testing for things that might affect you 12 to 72 hours after you've had the food. You might have had it on Sunday and then Tuesday's your worst day and you think it was the salad you had that day, but it was actually this like reaction that you've been building up and your immune system's been building on since you had the food on Sunday, which is why it can be really helpful. And at this test also, usually we're looking for only 8 foods or less. It really does eliminate a lot of false positives. So it's just very accurate.
So that's different than the at-home test that you can take.
Very
interesting.
Which is the one that I took.
Yeah, we had him do an at-home test and nothing. He's not sensitive to anything. And I just don't know how that's possible. I wanted him to be sensitive to all the things that I am so that we can like do it together and not have cheese together.
I prefer not to be But speaking of food, that's something that's kind of part of your business as well in Buda, right? Correct? You sell foods, healthier food options. What all do you like to carry, and what was the thought behind that? And when did that
Travis's
come out?
fault.
Okay.
So we have had this clinic since 2015 in Buda, and then on Main Street during 2020, some of the businesses post-COVID were, oh my gosh, there was a baby under the table the whole time. What? I thought she was upstairs and I kept thinking like, when are they going to go and get her?
No, she's under the table. We just pull babies out from under the table.
Okay.
Between my legs.
That was very surprising. With these headphones, I didn't know where the sound was coming from. Okay, so in Buda, we've been there since 2015 on Main Street, but a little ways down is like the heart of old historic downtown Buda. There's this huge, gorgeous building built in 1898, and the other side was 1901. It's one single building, but it's separated by a wall and some rolling doors. So the 3,000 square feet on this side, we installed in 2021, early 2021, something called the Zoe Market. So it was just our way of like providing a space where we can build community and kind of inspire a relaxed lifestyle of wellness. So we're not for extremists. Like, we definitely have something for everyone. Mm-hmm. So we're not all vegan. We definitely have tons of awesome meat. We carry Force of Nature, which is one of the companies that has like the highest integrity when it comes to providing meat products for people. And we have like refrigerators and freezers full of things that you can easily make at home. And then we have
is that Force of Nature kosher?
I need to look at it.
Okay, just curious. Random question.
See, there's everybody wants to know if it's their exact lifestyle, and I'm like, I hope so. That's a really good question. I don't know why it wouldn't be, but I'm gonna look it up. Does it need to be certified kosher?
I think so. Yeah, there's
we
like
don't
requirements
do
for
kosher,
that.
So I don't know. That's such a random question.
Yeah, I'm the guy that goes shopping at the grocery store and looks at labels. So that's why I ask, because
I can't think about why it wouldn't be, but I'll have to look it up. So then we try to provide foods that most of our food is gluten-free. Our cafe and bakery, where we create like grab and go food and scones and muffins and cookies and cakes. It's all natural and gluten-free food, but you wouldn't be able to tell it's gluten-free. We've got flatbread pizzas that are incredible. They haven't come out yet. They're coming out with Meridian, which is Travis's new bar venue. Did he talk to you about that last night?
We did. We touched on it a bit, but
not extensively though. Just kind of briefly.
Yeah.
Well, basically, this side of the building was the first thing we could open. We put in a huge herbal pharmacy called the Zoe Medicinals Pharmacy, and we have 11 lines of natural medicine remedies so that people can start getting rid of like over-the-counter medicine from their homes. And then we have our full-on like the 280 individually tinctured herbs that we use to make customized medicine. And we fill orders for people all over the country, but we also fill orders for people in our community all the time who are just coming to get refills. And then they can also get the Zoe Medicinals tinctures. And then we have the grocery section that's like, at first, my heart was for families who had children with autism who were like obsessed with certain foods, but they were really toxic, full of sugar foods. And so we had like a chocolate hazelnut replacement for their Nutella, or like things that have less sugar and no dyes. And you know what I mean? So you can still find sugary foods there and cookies and all that, but they're gluten-free and they're typically lower sugar. We've got some no sugar options. And then basically we carry all of our favorite brands, and we're working now that we're opening the bar cafe, we're working to make partnerships with as many local or small family businesses as possible. So who also have a passion for like living well with like a lower toxic load, and who are very creative people. So their honey, their jams, they're like Siete is a local company. Now they're like nationwide and totally blew up, but they're from Austin, and we have like a huge Siete section, and it just sells out like every week and a half.
I love their chips.
We love Siete.
And they're amazing. And then we have like a lot of local vendors. We've got like goat cheese from a local farm, and we're about to partner with about 4 or 5 different farms to try to restart our produce section. That's been a really hard thing to keep up as a small business because we don't have a ton of traffic, and I hate throwing out food. No. And we can give it to our staff to take home and to ourselves, but that doesn't solve the problem of money. Like, we're buying it and we can't afford to not like move it, you know?
You have to make a living. Like this is, also your livelihood.
Yeah. So. And the market also has like mom and baby books and journals, gifts that are like thoughtful and all natural, or kind of, I don't know. I think they're all awesome and cute. We also have spa and body and bath and products that are like products we believe in that don't have chemicals in them. And then next door this Friday, we're opening Meridian, which is Travis's music venue. But it starts out in the morning at 7 a.m. as a bona fide coffee shop. And we have 9 medicinal cocktails. 6 of them are for the organ channels that we work with in acupuncture and herbal medicine. So 6 traditional Chinese medical like cocktails that are non-alcoholic, but they have tinctures in them for your organ systems. So like the lung and the spleen and the heart and the kidney, the liver. And the menu will tell you like how it affects you, what the purpose of this medicinal cocktail is. And then you can choose which liquor you'd like to put in it if you want to make it alcoholic. So we give you 3 pairings that we recommend to put with that cocktail or mocktail or whatever. And then we have a normal cocktail menu, but the cafe and bakery is serving that space all day. So it's all organic, well, as we can source it. So something might be even just 75-80% organic and not perfectly pure or clean, but it's like much cleaner than you can get anywhere else in Buda and most places in Austin. So we're just financially, trying to jump those hurdles. And also, the name of the game is integrity, and we're trying to stick to it and trying to be transparent with the public. So we're not always going to be perfect, but we'll be like, hey, these berries are conventional because this week strawberries were $10.25 a box versus $4.25 a box. And like, unless you want to pay $9 for a scone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So just beware if you're trying to be fully toxin free or like chemical free. Like what I mean by chemicals is like herbicides, pesticides, glyphosate, that type of stuff. But that brings me to a point that I think is really important. Something we stand by is that none of us are going to be able to avoid toxins, chemicals, pressure from our environment or our food source completely.
Yeah.
And so our job is to make our body resilient and our filters resilient. So we focus a lot on liver health and kidney health and blood health and like digestion, like the integrity of the lining of your gut and all of those things. We give people a lot of resources on how to keep those with full integrity so that they can do their job. Because your body's job is to process what's in its environment and in the food, pull out the nutrients and use it to its highest good and get rid of the waste. And if you're working really well, you do that, and so we don't need to live in fear or stress and like, oh my gosh, I can't go outside because there's chemicals everywhere.
In the air, Yeah, I've said that to him before because we'll be like, oh, we need to cut out plastics or we need to, this or that. And then it's like, I get so overwhelmed that it's like, I'm just going to eat an entire bag of Oreos because I can't do anything. Like give me all of the chemicals and junk because it's so overwhelming to try to cut out everything. But if you can cut out some things and, create progress towards that goal of being toxin free, it's so much easier than trying to like do it all at once and being overwhelmed and then just drowning yourself in Oreos.
Exactly.
Which I have done, so.
It elicits like a very emotional sort of angry response sometimes when you feel like, why even try? Yeah. So that's why we say the relaxed lifestyle of wellness. Yeah. Like there's alcohol here, there's liquor at our bar, but there's also 9 medicinal cocktails. Yeah. There's also up front at the pharmacy, like I can recommend many things that you could do for your vitamin and mineral levels before you go to bed after you've had alcohol so that you're like, processing better as you sleep. Yeah. I mean, alcohol is not good for your sleep. Everybody knows that. So there's some life hacks that we can have to somebody said once to me, play hard, heal hard. So I'm like, yes, let's play hard together. Let's have the tools to heal hard. Let's know when to like pull back and let our bodies restore. Because at the end of the day, we're not here for that self-satisfaction. Like that's not our purpose on the earth.
Okay, I know I'm not the only one wondering what the cocktail is or mocktail is for hangover prevention.
Mocktail. That would be a mocktail, not a cocktail.
We're going to give you a cocktail for the hangover.
Well, for some it's a cocktail because they wake up the next morning and help themselves to a heaping of alcohol. Yeah. To keep it going.
Well, in the morning you can have a mocktail. You can have the kidney one, which is like our nighttime version of a Bloody Mary, but you can have it in the morning too. But it's very restorative and helpful for the kidney channel, but like supporting your detox organs. And it has a lot of electrolytes in it, and like things that you're missing are like basically hydration, right? And alcohol leaches like vitamins and minerals from your body. So you need to restore those, make sure they're replenished.
Do y'all plan, or do you already have the option to take home these mocktails?
No, but
That would
I
be
would
cool.
love it.
Yeah. Like I can
Bottle.
see us, or I say us, me, bringing some home for those occasional nights where maybe I had a little too much to drink.
Why don't we partner? We have a tincture for that. It's called Edifos. It's a digestive relief tincture.
I have that one.
And that one actually says on the bottle that it can help with hangover relief. So you can take the Edifos digestive relief and the Zoe longevity tincture together.
Well, I have both of those, and I thought I remembered seeing on there something about hangover, but I've never used it for that. I've used it for like digestive stuff. Oh, Luna needs a diaper change. One thing that you haven't talked about that I love is, because as an artist, I'm all about the aesthetics, is that y'all's space is beautiful, like ridiculously beautiful. And like you walk in, and I don't know if it's changed since we've been there, but like to the right, there's just like the neon sign with like all of the bottles of the herbs. And then over in the back corner, there's this like beautiful juicery, and then all the shelves with all the products and the lotions. And it's just beautiful. Like you guys really have paid attention to all of those little details of how it functions as just a beautiful space. And when we were there, Meridian wasn't open, but I think you were working on it because those sliding doors were shut, but you could kind of peek in a little bit. Like we tried to kind of like peek in because you had talked about that y'all were doing this really cool venue space, but it just wasn't open yet. But yeah, it's just such a beautiful space. It's such a cool experience. Like it really is an experience beyond just the amazing products that you have. It's just a beautiful experience to go there. So we love it.
Oh man, I love hearing that. I am not a good artist. I was telling you earlier, it's like people like you and your Instagram, the in between, and it's been so inspiring to watch like how you bring color and aesthetic to everything you do. And I, a long time ago, got this idea that I was terrible at it. And then I started retraining myself in my 20s and late 20s and early 30s to like just try and just go for what my aesthetic was and just believe in it. And so that's why I picked out all the chandeliers and was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I would want to see in this space. And people really responded to it. That juicery moved out last November and we replaced it with like kind of a French style cafe. And so we did like these, my friend Chloe came up with the color for the paint. I think it's called Gentleman's Gray, but it's like a deep blue. It's gorgeous. And then we have like these anthropology that we will not be carrying anthropology mugs, guys, but we were for a while. And they're so beautiful. They have the Z and the M on them for Zoe Market. Has this stunning chandelier over it. And that's where the baker and our chef like make all the food. And we have a little wine bar back there now. Wow. But the wine bar is moving to Meridian.
Oh, okay.
But my mom also, since you've been in, she opened a floral shop in there. So the front of it's all plants and flowers.
Are you kidding me?
Yes. And her gosh, what do you call them? Her vases and her planters are so fun. Like some of them are animals and she like fills them with like an array of plants.
Wow.
We kind of focus on plants that won't die fast.
Yeah.
And then like on the weekends we sell bouquets.
Okay. Wow.
But most of it is like something that's just, you can give to somebody and it should thrive if they water it. I think.
Y'all really like hit almost like every aspect of like
living,
like and living healthy, like the plants and, the plants create oxygen and they're beautiful to look at and they connect us to nature. And then the herbs and the food, like, I mean, y'all touch on everything.
It's so complicated and I laugh because it's so dumb that we are like trying to do all this, but we just had a space for all of it. And we realized that we were like passionate about living and living a vibrant life. And we decided, what if we made a little version of the things that we love? And Travis, like, he likes to say it this way. We do like medicine for the body here, and then we do medicine for the soul at the venue with music every night. And like, it's just the between both spaces and all the seating area and the back garden where you can sit. Like, we just wanted people to come and have a taste of all of our favorite things that we think are beautiful, make a life more enjoyable, but also are healthful, so that you're not compromising the most important thing. One of the most, because your physical health affects your mental health and emotional health. And we want to be there for our kids, and we want to be there for our grandkids. And our real goal is to restore the devastations of many generations. We want to make a generational impact on our kids and grandkids and great grandkids. And we want other people to join us with that, so that society can be healthier as a whole. And if we have a bunch of people who are like mentally and emotionally stressed all the time, and that could be influenced by their food and their intake and their like dietary choices, well, we want to offer a space where you can learn how to make healthier choices, but still enjoy what you're eating. You know what I mean? But our real goal is to see people, all of us, like all ships, you know, what is it? The ships rise together or whatever. Like, we want all of us to kind of like step up to the plate and restore health from the inside out to a society that's really struggling and broken and hurting right now. I mean, we all know that. And it's been a really hard place for all of us to exist. And I think we all want to be part of the solution. And this is just our tiny offering, you know?
Well, and it's in a way, and you kind of hit on this earlier, that is from a space of love and beauty, and not like, you need to lose weight or you need to stop doing that. It's not coming from judgment. It's coming from like love of like, here's this beautiful space that we've curated with all of our favorite things that can help you, you know, live a wonderful life. Like, it's just very approachable, I feel like. And that's also been my experience coming to you for, you know, acupuncture and the wellness program and everything, is it's never from a space of judgment. You know, I'm like, yeah, I just binged an entire pack of cookie dough last week. And you're like, yeah, me too. I've done it. Like, it's not like, are you kidding me? What? You're eating that and you're breastfeeding your child. You've ruined your child, you know, like where it could be coming from that place. It's not like, it's coming from that space of just non-judgment of like, well, what could we do instead? You know,
thank you. That is my heart. I don't always do it perfectly, because I'm a really intense and direct person, especially when I feel like people are coming to me for help. I'm like, and they're in a bad place. I'm like, you have to like really no compromise, you know? However, my real heart is that we just join in this lifestyle one day at a time, cumulatively build a life of wellness and joy that we love. Because what I found when I was so sick and couldn't leave my house, that it took me many years of adding one component every 6 months. Now I'm going to try bone broth. Well, now bone broth's a no-brainer to me. But at one point, it was unbelievably like intimidating and disgusting, right? But then I learned about, you know, how to detoxify my home and like what products I'm going to use. Well, now I don't even think about that. It's easy for me to grab those products. It's easy for me to order them or buy them. It's not stressful, but it was in the beginning. So I used to do one thing at a time. Well, then 4 years later is not a long time. 4 years is not a long time. People think it is, but you get there and you're like, oh my gosh, my whole world is cleaner and brighter and lovely. And I had the energy to paint every wall of my house, to get my kids ready for school. I've done an incredible job at, you know, making all their lunches. And, you know, I hear these stories from moms all the time who changed how they do life, and their energy levels alone blow my mind. Just their ability to like pursue the business they wanted to open, or start their new Instagram account that inspires other people, and they do it every day and they're consistent. Like, it just is so exciting to see those things. And it's one little thing at a time. If you approach it with judgment and anger and frustration and don't you know better, then I mean, it literally just shuts people down. It shuts me down. And I'm like, no, I don't want anything to do with this, because the environment feels too stressful. Whereas when you come in at Zoe, I want you to immediately relax. Like, just to feel like you are welcome there. You can enjoy just a basic cup of coffee, or you can grab your vitamins for the week and the whole family and take home scones, whatever it is you want to do, you know, hopefully make friends and meet people that are like-minded, and, you know.
It makes it fun. It makes creating a healthy lifestyle fund, which is the opposite of how most of us approach it.
Yeah.
I know, like with my parents, I'm always like, your gut health. And my mom was like, if you bring up my gut one more time, Leah,
Don't do it.
so I don't bring up her gut anymore.
I can step in for you.
Yeah. Because it's
Tag me in.
Yeah. And if it's fun, it makes it more easy to make those little changes that can eventually become really big changes. Rather than just nagging at people because you love them.
Yeah.
And to kind of bring it around what you're talking about, the doing one thing at a time instead of focusing on everything at the same time. What Leah said earlier about trying not to eat or drink from plastic stuff and how it was overwhelming. And I think it was overwhelming for her because this was such a new thing. Mm-hmm. So she's thinking about everything. Whereas for me, this is the way I've been thinking for years before we met. And I introduced her to it because she had never thought about it.
I want to pause real quick. Everyone thinks that I'm like the hippie. Like I've always been called a hippie my entire life. And like I'm the hippie. But I'm like maybe aesthetically the hippie and like a wannabe hippie. When it comes down to like, he's the one that's like, no plastics. We don't use the microwave. It's so funny to me.
This is true.
I want you to keep going and I don't want to interrupt, but same. My husband is fanatical and people think that I am the one. And I do have the herbal, like natural medicine wellness center, but my husband is like, he is so regimented and good at it. And he was the one that did all the research for our daughters and what they would consume. Wow. I mean, he was responsible for a lot of things, getting things out of their environment before I was. And I'm sort of like you, where I'm in the overwhelm of my life. I'm treating all these patients and we're opening this cafe. Why are we opening a cafe? Like I'm having babies and I'm like, I just want to take a bath and like read a book and do my Bible study. Like leave me alone. And he's like, I'm taking out all of this stuff from the fridge. Just look at me. I'm throwing it away. You know what I mean? And he's like, I've done all this research about their gut health. And I'm like almost embarrassed because that should be my job, but he rocks it for us.
All of the carpet? Y'all took out all of your carpet?
Yes.
I saw that. I think
that was my research.
Okay.
And then when I showed him the research, he was like, oh my gosh. So we like basically drained our savings account for that project because the new carpets in a new build are really bad for you, but they're worse for newborns and toddlers. And I was pregnant and I was like, we have all of those. We have all of those things. We have to get it out. And so he was a huge support, but like we're each other's like best. We're just a great team because we really get each other's back. But it's usually my husband, like you're saying, that really like it makes sense to him. And he's like, it's not hard. We just need to eliminate plastics.
Yeah. And it's easier. Obviously, it's easier said than done. Unfortunately, the way it's set up, going with glass or like water bottles, it's hard to find glass water bottles, but it's a little easier to find aluminum water bottles, which is I think a better option. But the problem with that is, it's not cost. The cost is it costs more for those products than to just buy plasticware, bottled water, or any food product. You're going to pay a lot less because it's not sustainable for these businesses to make stuff out of glass and aluminum. So for their profits, they make stuff out of plastic.
And it leaches into the food. And the thing with plastics is that it's a hormone disruptor. And they, a lot of xenoestrogens and stuff that can really scramble you and cause a wide array of symptoms that you don't want to live with. But if you get the glass or the, stainless steel, you personally will be spending less because you're not buying plastic bottles all the time and throwing them away and rebuying water bottles. If you're able to keep up with your water bottle, which I'm not. I've lost so many water bottles.
Yes. Water bottles and sunglasses are my top two shouldn't be disposable items, but are, because I lose
You
them.
are my soul sister. I wish
All the
Travis
time.
was here. I lost 3 pair of sunglasses in one day. 2 of which he made 2 stops to buy me because I was angry that I lost the last one.
Oh my gosh.
So
Yeah.
Wow. What's been the biggest challenge for y'all starting businesses before having kids? And then while having kids, what's been the most difficult thing? How do you navigate that life work balance?
As our child screams.
I think that my postpartum experience was perfectionism. And sweet girl.
I'll step out.
Okay.
Are you?
But you can continue.
Bye, Luna.
She is the most beautiful. Oh. Before we had kids, we were like, it was before COVID. I don't know. We had Utopia Fest and I was just doing Zoe Medicinals, and it was actually COVID that threw us into opening this Zoe market, and then realizing that Travis could have a permanent venue instead of just doing 1 or 2 festivals a year. And so COVID really changed everything, and we weren't this hardcore before that. And then when it hit us, we were 34, had our first baby at home in our little cottage, June 8th, 2020. And then signed the lease for the new market, December of 2020. And I think having a baby made us insane. Like we are having a baby during COVID made us like triple down, not even double down on like what building a life. We felt a little threatened, I think. The clinic obviously had to close for a while. Like, we did not believe that any amount of economic stimulus could like help support a family.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and we had dreams of making a life with people who really valued like, working on their inner health and wellness. And we felt that COVID was like exposing how we don't do that as a nation. And we were like, our job is even more important now than ever. Like, I just started to take it so much more seriously. Even though I took it seriously before, I was like, oh my gosh, this is my life calling, and we are going to press in and do whatever we can to build a space for people to come and learn how to turn the tide and not be in this situation again. So it wasn't just about having children. It was about COVID and having children that made us got us into this situation of having way too much to do right now. And I think this is a season of pruning, and we're like allowing some things to fall by the wayside. We closed the Zoe market that we had in Utopia because it was too much for us to travel back and forth and have all these businesses in Buda and new babies to keep that store going. So now we just have the clinic again. And to some that might look like failure, and it definitely wasn't doing well financially. But to us, it was just part of our discovery and exploration and our, like, what can we do in the world? Can we have 2 markets? No, we cannot handle it. So we did let that go. But it was the combination of having kids and like in a pandemic and I had 2 pandemic babies, which I think is just, why? Like, out of all the things I thought would happen in my adult years when I was a kid, this is not what I thought.
How you planned it.
So it really just lit a fire under us. And so we've decided to do life with our children. We call it our modern day farming. The whole family is doing it. Our kids have grown up in that market. That's where Sterling learned how to roll over, crawl, walk, talk. She's licked the floors. So I'm sure her immune system will ensure that she lives for 200 years now. So I think running businesses for us is not really like it's not what a lot of people would choose for their pace, especially while having children. And I've noticed that I've been like, why not? We can totally do it. You can do it. But I've noticed when I believe them when they say, I don't think that's like really what our family's pace is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we love what we're doing, but we're also willing to let things go for the health of our children.
Mm-hmm.
We've always said that if they were in need and we weren't able to give them what they need with our work schedule, that we would change our work schedule and we would let go of business. We would let go of a lot of things, or we would shift it into somebody else's leadership.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, our girls are very social and love every minute of it. And when they're starting to melt down, we ask people to help us and step in, and we take them home and we get them into a warm bath and make them a warm meal. And well, Simone just eats milk, breast milk. And then, so I don't know. We really did the opposite of what most people do. Like they usually slow down a little bit when they have kids, and we just like turn the heat up on everything. But I think we were like, COVID was at our heels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely did the slow all the way down, which for me was like the hardest thing ever, because I equate my worth with production and productivity. And so like if I'm not doing things or accomplishing things, who am I or what am I? But all throughout the pregnancy, I was like, I'm doing the absolute bare minimum of what I have to do, because I just want to focus on like creating this person. And that was such a learning process for me, because naturally I want to do all the things and add more. But life is so seasonal. And so like you said, like stepping back from things doesn't mean that it's a failure. And I think that's a hard thing for people to accept, especially like you've put all this together, you've put it out into the world, you've posted it all over social media, and now you're closing. And you're a big fat failure. Like that's what we tell ourselves. I've heard that from so many people, especially in 2020 when they were having to pivot or change things. And it's like, I put everything into this and now I'm having to close it. It's a failure. I'm having to do something different. But like life is seasonal, and sometimes you shut that door and a million other doors open and something else blossoms. And I feel like that's something y'all are super open to. Like, Travis is stepping back from the big festivals, focusing on the smaller things. Now he has a bar, and y'all have, stopped the market in Utopia, but the market in Buda just seems to be thriving and growing. And if you hold on to one project so tightly, sometimes you choke out the life of what could be growing in the other project, and
such a good way.
Yeah. Well, and y'all seem so open to that, which is, I think, important for people to hear, because, just because things change doesn't make it a failure.
Man. Yes. If I could impart one thing to everyone, other people that Travis and I have that we've fought for and we're grateful for, but just the willingness to say no, to say yes, but to stand in our integrity and to stand in our, like we believe in self-responsibility, like, and to not let the world and what their opinion of you and what it might be influence what you do. We have our moments where we'll grieve over the loss of a friend, or we'll grieve that someone didn't necessarily understand where we were coming from. But grief is important, and grief is a normal part of life, and we should give it space, right? And especially when our heart is to have reconciliation and healthy friendships and relationships, but not everybody, including our family members, are going to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, especially closing a business or like, without shame. People are like, oh my gosh, I would be so embarrassed. You know what I mean? Like closing the doors. And like, I didn't even think of it that way, because I'm like, we got 2 kids now, and I don't need them to understand what our reasons were. And then we just forge ahead with what we feel that we're called to do. And I think that I wish on everyone that they feel the freedom and the mental clarity and the mental space and an emotional space to pursue their dreams and to prune the tree, right? What is it when you prune something? It allows more to grow and you to be more fruitful.
Yeah, exactly.
And pruning, you're like, oh, I don't want to cut that branch. It's so pretty. And it could mean so much to these people over here who's like sitting under its shade.
Yeah.
But it's dying.
Yeah.
And they're not going to have shade even if, for very long. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it. And then you watch the growth, like what you were just talking about. You watch like exponential growth. And we are not perfect at that. But what I do wish on everyone that we have is the willingness to learn more about how to do that. Do you know what I mean? Just the openness to get better at it. And we have a lot of mentors and we seek a lot of counsel in our life. And I think that's what's made all the difference, is meeting with smarter, wiser, calmer people than I am.
We always.
And where do you find those people?
We always say, before we get to that, we always say, like, we hope that we're the dumbest people in the room. Like, we want to surround ourselves with people that are smarter than us, or more successful than us, or more whatever, because we just
because you become the common denominator of all those people, right?
Completely.
For sure.
But where do you find those people, man? There's a lot of. Whenever I find a person that inspires my heart and challenges me without fear, like they don't care, I'm like, we need to meet again. I'm gonna take you to lunch because I want you to, like, people pour into me, and then I'm a good student. I feel like I like to go and just do what they told me to do as a test. They told me to do this. Let's see what happens if I do this. And like recently a guy was like, how much do you celebrate? Like, cause I was getting upset every time I came to Zoe Market and Meridian because it's so hard. And I was in a bad mood every time, and it was affecting all of our staff. So I got a counselor, and I was like, I have a bad attitude. And he was like, oh my gosh, why? Like, I explained all this stuff, and he was like, how much do you celebrate? Look at this, what you're building. And I was like, I don't feel like I can celebrate this. It's too overwhelming. And sometimes staff don't show up, and you know what I mean? All this stuff. And he was like, how well do you know your staff? Like, I want you to pour into them. I want you to tell them, I want you to find out what their dreams are and what are their goals. And do you support those goals? And are you ready for them to leave Zoe to pursue those dreams? And will you support it? Like even financially, if you had an opportunity? And I was like, yeah, I would do that. And so I went straight the next day and like met with all of the staff. Like, they didn't know I was doing it. I just went up to them and like, I was just engaging with them. And now I'm like so excited to know their dreams. And I have been celebrating ever since. And my whole attitude flipped on its head. And my joy has like tripled because I was like, he's right and I'm wrong. And once I started connecting with everyone, like, things have been even more beautiful at work, and we all smile at each other more. And I didn't realize how much I was affecting people, because I'm like, I'm just coming over from the clinic. Don't mind me. I'm not your main manager. You know, Abigail's your manager. But they know we own it, and I'm not connecting with them. And that can be kind of weird. You know what I mean? I guess the one thing I haven't really stepped fully into is like the fact that we're leaders, like, and influencing people. That is really hard for me to accept, because I always feel so influenced by other people and inspired by other people. And so I've been learning how to, like, instead of being afraid of my position of leadership, like building relationship with each person that's on our team, so it's not so scary. Oh, I know Lucy. You know, oh, I know Aloe. I know Noah. We have another Noah on our team.
Oh, wow.
It's a girl.
That's crazy.
Same spelling.
Wow.
And then, I know Lori, I know Taylor, I know all of my staff, right? And we're, maybe not friends, but I fully support them, and they can trust me and they can come to me. And I'm learning how to, I don't know, that's been a hurdle, but that's something I learned from somebody much wiser and more practiced than me in leadership. That changed everything about the environment. That's why we have to have mentors, because I was turning into someone I didn't like very much, because these projects have been very hard in the midst of having kids, even though we love them and we're pushing, we see the value of what we're doing, but it doesn't mean that we've done it super gracefully all the time.
That's so interesting that you say that that's why you needed a mentor, because you didn't like who you were becoming. Whereas I think the most common thing you hear of people wanting mentors is for guidance, not so much that they don't like who they are becoming, which is interesting. Like, you don't hear that. And I'm glad that you're vulnerable enough to say that and share that with us. And I appreciate it.
Oh.
But if someone was listening to this, maybe it's a couple, and they have kids, but they have business aspirations, but something's holding them back. What kind of words of encouragement would you give them, share with them that would maybe give them that push to pursue those things?
Oh, my first thing I want to say is find a way to do it as soon as possible, because life is speeding on ahead and there will always be something. Before we had kids, there were obstacles. And then when we had kids, there were obstacles, and that just never changed. It's always been a long obedience in the same direction. You know, you sow into it every day, you take big leaps, and you make partnerships and relationships. But I think the first thing you need to know if you're a couple and you're trying to start a company or you have business aspirations and children, the first thing is, do I trust my partner to have my back? Do we have a foundation that is ultimately loving and sacrificial and cheerleading one another? I'm so proud of Travis. He is like the hottest, most awesome, most like dreamboat of a husband I could have ever imagined. And yet I take all of my frustration out on him. When he makes a mistake, lately I've been learning through prayer and like release and through mentorship to not get freaked out when he makes a mistake, right? And because he's incredible, but like we've struggled because we're doing everything together, and his grace and his like kindness towards me and his he is just so forgiving, and he's my biggest cheerleader, and that's never stopped. It just gets better and more every day. And our admiration and respect for one another is more and more every day. So the only reason we can do these businesses as well is because he, as my husband, is also willing to cook most of our meals, because I do a lot of patient care during the day. He makes my lunch. He also does half of the night stuff. So he's with Sterling if she's freaking out in the night, and I'm breastfeeding Simone. He bathes, clothes, everything. He does everything for our girls. Like I could leave without telling him I'm leaving and not come back for a week, and I wouldn't even worry about their well-being for 1 second. He's got it all unlocked. So I think if you're a couple and you have kids and you're going to start businesses, like you both need to know what your kids need and what their schedule is, and you both need to equally be able to do it. You know what I mean? Or you make a rule that my husband's going to do 80% of the business and I'm going to do this 20%. The rest of it's going to be with the kids, because it doesn't have to be like ours, but you got to make a plan, you know, based on what your skill sets are and what your hopes are. Like if it's going to suck the life out of you to be running a business and not be with your children, then you kind of figure out how you guys are going to approach it. Maybe she's going to be the face of the company and he is going to be doing like the background computer stuff, but she loves that because she's all about people. You know what I mean? It's just, you got to find your rhythm. And if you're really both excited about it, I mean, just don't waste any time, because whether you start in 10 years, you're going to make a ton of mistakes, or now you're going to make a ton of mistakes. So it's just like, get it over with. Just jump in. But you have to make sure your foundational stuff is taken care of. If your mental health is struggling, if you're grieving over a lost parent or something, or, you know, your kid has some disabilities that you haven't figured out yet, or maybe some needs that need to get worked out, like those all come first. People and family comes first. But those things are going to come up whether you have a business or not. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So even if it's hard, gosh, some of my heroes have kids with special needs. And one of my best friends, Erica Steele, because that's your midwife. Mm-hmm. She just opened her birth center in the middle of 2 teenagers with crazy schedules and crazy needs of their own, and a 21-year-old daughter with severe special needs who has a 24-hour caretaker. And nothing got in her way. None of that stopped her. She's got a full birth center now with a whole staff, and they just expanded actually. And I don't even know, she just passed her 1-year birthday with the birthing center and just added a whole nother section to her wellness center.
Yeah, that happened. That 1-year birthday happened, I think, while we were there.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would have, had you not mentioned it about her special needs daughter, we would have never known. We never knew that there was even an iota of little hint that was going on in her life, because she didn't
like
show
butter.
it, and it didn't phase her, and she just
yeah,
she's a beast.
She's very professional. And she's so full of compassion and desire, and like she's just good at what she does. But she knew, I've walked with her through that whole thing for years while she was dreaming about having this birth center. And so you can't just say, oh yeah, with kids and a husband, like, or wife, just go start a business. Like, she was meant to do this work, and that's why it works. So if you're meant to do it, give it a shot. Also, everything you're going to learn along the way, even if you close your business in a year or two, it's invaluable. Like, Travis and I are becoming adults.
Cool ones.
We're maturing,
cool
and like that's wonderful, because I don't want to suck at life. And I've learned a lot of the things I need to not do that while trying hard things and kind of getting it handed to me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've made so many mistakes, and I've cried about it. I've had to ask for forgiveness, and man, my team is still with me. Some people have left, but they were only with us for a short time. And it's really encouraging that the people that have been with us for many, many years. Like, that is a true testament to them and their patience.
Wow. Just as you were saying that, I was thinking, well, that's a testament to y'all. but it definitely starts from the top down. And the real leader, true leadership is giving all the praise to the people who are perceived to be under you, but I think that's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
And I truly appreciate you saying that, everything. And you and Travis and Leah and I have a lot of parallels in our life. I swear some of the things you're saying, it's like, is that Leah in there? Because
I know
y'all think the same, y'all have the same interests, and y'all's lives are kind of set up very similar to ours. And as you were speaking and praising Travis, I couldn't help but like get a little emotional, and I was really holding it back, but it just felt it was a very familiar feeling, and I was feeling it. It was so powerful as you were speaking and sharing that. So thank you, and I hope it impacts someone in a good way when they hear this. And thank you again for being on it. Unfortunately, Leah's feeding Luna, but I'll say goodbye for her as well. So thank you again.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
We've loved it so
and
much.
Hasta luego, everyone. Thank y'all, and we will see y'all next time. Bye.